Crispy, I'm going right back to you because, you and I talk about this on a regular basis, and maybe because we're old men, and it's fine. You're certainly younger than me. You're not as old, and you're not in the old man category as me, but you understand business. You work for a living like everybody else. We understand that value proposition, regardless of where it comes from, is incredibly important. It has been important for years, but I think that when you look back to any year past the original pandemic in 2020, things have become some things have become unattainable. And I'm not just talking about, lavish vacations or new vehicles or new wardrobes or even new homes, which is Mrs. Boom and I are currently saving for. And unfortunately, it's going to be a while because the market is just ridiculous. We can't jump in now. It's too late. It's out of control. But that's okay because we're just going to keep putting the money away and saving, and we're going to do it the right way. We're going to, put our heads down, work hard, and get it done. And that's where Xbox Game Pass in 2025 conversation comes into play, Crispy Bob, because I think that we are currently at a crossroad or even a trajectory where if you are a PlayStation gamer, whether you're diehard PlayStation, whether you're a casual, it doesn't matter. If you're a Nintendo person, you got a new console coming out. The Switch 2 is going to come out. It's going to blow the doors off of the Switch 1. We're hearing that there's going to have now. It's not going to be as powerful as the PlayStation 5. I see some commentary out there, folks. It's not. The rumor is that it's going to be, while it's in handheld mode, be as powerful as the PlayStation 4 Pro. While it's docked, this is a rumor, it's going to be as powerful as the Series S. We'll see. But needless to say, there's a new Nintendo coming out. And with all of that said, we gotta turn our gaze over to Xbox Game Pass. And that's a laser focused gaze because yes, I get it. When it launched in 2017, it was a new service. We didn't have the Paramounts or the Peacocks or the Hulus. We had some of them, but streaming services were coming into their own, and that has a lot to do with Netflix as being one of the originators. And you've heard the term, Crispy, that Xbox wants to become the Netflix of gaming. I think they're already here. But when you look at 2025's lineup, and I have pulled up a pretty unbelievable list of games. Now, look, a lot of these we already know are coming. The Avoweds, the Dooms, the Fables. But there are a lot of stuff here that, and mind you, this is just a fraction of what is expected to be 100+ games, new games, day and date games into the service. You have Eternal Strains, Sniper Elite, Citizen Sleeper 2, Atomfall, Football Manager 2025, Dead Static Drive, which was on PlayStation. Now that's coming to Xbox. Expedition 33. Freaking cannot wait for that game. You have, what is this over here? Commandos Origins, Descenders Next. You have Mixtape. You have Replaced, 33 Immortals, Wu Chang, Wheel World, Outer Worlds 2, The Altar, Subnautica 2, Sleight of Hand. There's Fragpunk that looks really good. And again, I'm not a hero shooter guy, but I will definitely give it a shot. Lost in Random is another one. It's a stacked deck. So where I want to take this conversation, folks, is let's just put down your console war torches and pitchforks for a second. Whether you're a PlayStation guy, gal, a Nintendo guy, gal, or diehard Xbox fan, I think, Crispy, it's hard to argue, it's hard to deny that as we continue to move through a new transition of power with people in government, especially here in the States, we don't know how long the value of the dollar is going to last. We don't know whether it's going to increase or it's going to continue to lessen. The more things happen in the world, the more expensive things are going to get, right? Eggs, and I make fun of me all you want, but this is the reality, folks. Eggs at Stop and Shop for a dozen eggs are $5.49. That is effing ridiculous. And I'm sorry, you can make fun of me all you want about, bringing real life stuff into the conversation, but that is a reality. It's a sad reality that our monies that we're getting, especially retired community like me and Fuzzy, that dollar is just not the same. The dollar is worth about 78 cents now versus a couple of years ago, you were getting the full dollar, sometimes more than that. And this is where Xbox Game Pass comes into into the conversation, because we know, ladies and gentlemen, that Xbox or Microsoft as a company invests $1 billion per year into bringing games into Xbox Game Pass. And obviously, we haven't had the latest update with numbers. Is it 35 million subscribers? Is it 40 plus million because of Call of Duty? We know they didn't sell a lot of consoles because of Call of Duty, but we know that they increased in subscription services. We just don't know the exact amount. And I really do think when you look at next year, when you look at 2025's lineup, which is this year, I got to get used to saying that. Crispy, I don't know how much longer even someone that games specifically and purposefully on PlayStation or Nintendo only can continue to deny not only the value, but it's the quality. Because if you sign up for Xbox Game Pass today, you have access not only to their unbelievable, ridiculous library that they've had in the past, and that goes all the way back to OG Xbox games, but you can download Indiana Jones. You can download Hellblade 2. You can download Stalker 2. And now, next month, you got Avowed, right? There's a rumor in April that South of Midnight is coming up. You got Doom. I mean, the unbelievable experiences and quality you're going to get by jumping into this service, I don't think you can deny anymore. What are your thoughts, man?
Well, so looking at 2025, because we're in it right now, I want Xbox to release a game every month. Now, It might not be first party, but every month I want some kind of game that is impactful within the service that is Game Pass. Now, I've said this 100 times, okay? And I've said this way back like 5 years ago. Game Pass will be the exclusive. And this is where you go and say, well, Netflix is the exclusive for a lot of things. I mean, you want to go watch a documentary? Go search it. You'll find something that you'll be like, wow, this is actually weird. You want to go watch, a big budget movie or a big budget TV show? They got it too. Okay. You want action adventure. You want comedy. Oh, they got that too. Xbox just trying to do that just in gaming. I mean, look at what they're bringing out next year. And now there's questions on certain things. We understand that. But I mean, to have like a game like South of Midnight, stop motion. Okay. People were hating on it. People were like, well, wow, this is not the stop motion I remember when I was a kid. Some of us, looked at that and they were like, okay, this actually looks really good. You know what I mean? And that's where I go and say, like, everybody's saying Avowed's going to come out first. What if they shadow dropped South of Midnight? Because they've been showing a lot of stuff.
Indeed, they have,
South of Midnight. Okay. And that's Compulsion. And Compulsion has went through the proper channels to say, hey, Microsoft, is this okay? So, that's what happens when you have a large company. Like, they probably sent the email, and then if they get mad when they send them, like hey, like, let's just do this, you know, I don't think, at least if it goes to Phil's going to be like, go for it. You ready? Yeah, we're ready. Go for it. All right, let's do this. So I'm just saying, like, you need, like, let's say Avowed came out in February instead of January. Would anybody really be mad if South of Midnight came in January? These are the options that we have right now. Like, they completely are leaving the FOMO out there because they continue to show us stuff. You understand what I'm saying? Like, they're doing things that no other gaming like PlayStation's not doing this. They're going to give you a release date, and then they're probably going to push it back another couple months. But they're not showing multiple things all the time. They do that with certain games, but it's very few and far between. Xbox has continued to do this. They have continued to say, hey, let's throw a little smidge out there and see how people react. Let's test the water. Put our toe in the water. Oh, it's cold. Oh, okay. We're gonna step back. We're gonna stand on the, on the deck or whatever it is. All right. Let's just, get ourselves together. Let's, like, relax. We're trying to put this out now. But lately it's been a lot of like, hey, I can't wait. Hey, this is going to be great. Sure, there's the PS is better and all this stuff. I don't care. And like I've said before, I don't see a lot of the games that are going to come out this year that make people feel like they're going to go to PlayStation anytime soon. Could they? Sure. You want to wait on that? That's on you. That's not on me. Okay? I get to download it in Game Pass. Okay? Like, they already told you, hey, Doom Dark Ages is coming to PlayStation. Well, that's great. I mean, all the other Dooms have been on PlayStation.
Yeah.
What are we talking about here? Like, I'm not sitting here like, oh, you should only keep this on Xbox. Like, no, like, that would actually be disrespectful to the people that have just loved Doom. You know what I mean? Like, you have a fandom in a game. You have a fandom in a game. So, like, when Shadows or myself go and say, like, hey, like, I will absolutely love if they make the Phoenix Collection and they put it on PlayStation, because I want people to experience that. I would actually help them as long as they're respectful and a nice person. Okay. Like, if you can't figure it out, I'll help you figure it out. But that's a problem that some people have, because I'm a fan of a game that got me into Xbox to begin with. You understand what I'm saying? Like,
yep.
And that game has been, 6 years, bro. Like, come on. It's time. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care what it is. Give me something. But that's also a FOMO aspect. You actually look at that and say, I want it now. You know what I mean? Like, and that's where you go and say, like, everybody wants everything now. We're in a age where you can have a phone and be like, oh, that game looks cool. I saw this on a TikTok or a YouTube or whatever. And then you go and say, but I can't play it on my phone because that's all I have. Well, Xbox is giving you that in some way, shape, or form. Like, yeah, it might not be the game you want, but it might be something similar. If anything, it could be the game you want over time. That's where Xbox is doing things differently. And people are going to hate it. They are going to hate it. I mean, am I all for, like, every game going to PlayStation? No. But at the same time, I want these games to survive within their own ecosystem. And if it requires PlayStation for them to continue to invest in, I'm okay with that. And I think that's something that people need to realize, because I don't see Xbox changing their narrative anytime soon of what's going to be on Xbox and what's not going to be. And I think we need to accept that in a way. But that goes and say, what is Game Pass to you? Now, the people in the chat, most of them probably like, Game Pass is everything right now, especially for gaming. So why deny that? And then to come to this year and the list that you just threw off. And that's not even all the possibilities as well. I mean, we still have Contraband sitting there somewhere.
Yep.
We have games that, like maybe like, one game like Concord came out and it didn't do well. So then now they're like, okay, let's rethink the Contraband thing, and maybe they're redeveloping. Well, guess what? We have that option because we have so many other games.
That's right, brother. That's exactly correct.
We have so many other games. You know what? Hey, Contraband, you can't do that right now. Okay, we got somebody else to take your spot. We're good with that. They need to be agnostic. And that's the thing. I love that they're not putting complete dates out there. I really am. I know people are hating it. Like, oh, why didn't this get a date or that get a date? You have to let them cook. You have to. Because what I saw from E-Day, being a Gears fan, I said, thank God I said let them cook. You know what I mean? And I said I was not completely against it, but I was not. The amount of time between games we're not used to. We're used to 3 years for a lot of sequels and everything else. That does not mean that that's the right thing to do in this day and age. And I think Microsoft is absolutely on the pulse. They have analytic data, people. Like they have a lot of analytic data that says, okay, like we're going to put out a Southern style game like South of Midnight. That is going to be something that's like for a select few people in a way, but it doesn't mean that people aren't going to get interested or engaged in it. And I think that's the problem with these other companies. Like Nintendo, what are they going to put out? Are they going to put out reiterations of Mario? Are they going to put reiterations of this and that? We're talking like 10 plus games on some of these IP.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we're under 10 on a lot of the IP that are on Xbox. We're at least under 10. But that's where I say, like, you can't ignore what you've done before. You can make it better. And that's what I say, like, like everybody's looking Oblivion remake. Oh, everybody's like, like, please let it happen. But that's the same thing I feel about the Phoenix Collection. Like, but if it goes, to every platform, do you really care if you are a fan of that series or, just that one game that's much older? And then I say, okay, PlayStation, like you have like IP like Twisted Metal, you have IP like SOCOM, you have IP like Killzone, okay, which haven't been touched in it's damn close to 10 years.
Yeah, a decade at least. Yep.
So why don't you touch that again? And maybe like you could possibly revamp it, or games as a service. Okay. Like SOCOM was like one of the OG multiplayers I've ever played in my life, like online, everything else. Like what happened? Like you just gave up. You said no.
Well, they went to where they followed. They took the easy route. There's no doubt about it. And I'm not saying that making games is easy, because I couldn't tell you anything about making games. But Crispy, you make a great point. I think that PlayStation lost their way. Now there was a recent interview with Herman Holtz where they're going to go back and they're going to bring forward a lot of their older IPs because they absolutely have to, for a lot of reasons. I don't think they can continue to take on $400 million budget games. So you might see a Sly Cooper come back. You might see a Jack and Daxter come back, and they can make those games. And I have no doubt that they're going to be good. But they have to return to where where they were weird. That's where they lost their way, because everything in the last 5 years all looks the same. Spider-Man looks like The Last of Us. The Last of Us looks like Horizon. Horizon looks like God of War. God of War looks like Days Gone. And I like those games. That's why I have a PlayStation. I like those types of games, but they got to get weird. They got to go back to where their roots. Great point, man.
Well, I mean, you got to be honest with yourself. Like, I get my checks and balances upstairs from the young man. Okay, like he's like You know what's his most anticipated game right now? Subnautica 2.
And this
Why?
Game Pass too. Look at that.
Why? In my head, I have no idea. Like, I've watched him play the game. Okay, like I'm just sitting there, like, okay, this is boring. But he is like in every little aspect. Oh, I got to get this. Oh, I got to get that. And then I'm sitting there, and I'm like, why be judgmental? Because I've done that with Fallout. Why be judgmental? And that's where I go and say, okay, like, but what's your intrigue? Well, I could play it on PC, and if I bring my Xbox, I can play here, and I still have the same save, and I can play with the people. Well, I don't know. I don't hear anybody on PlayStation side saying stuff like that. Like, hey, I play on the PC, and then I go and bring it here, and then I can also talk to people and everything else. Oh, you could say through Discord. Okay, but no. I can go through Xbox Live, or I can go through Discord. These are options, people. Like, Xbox is just going to give you options until no end. They're going to give you options on what style of game. They're going to give you options on how you play it or where you play it at. Do you want to buy it? Do you not want to buy it? This is all good for the leader, or at least I say the revenue stream that is Microsoft/Xbox.
Yep.
For them to give you those options is actually good as a consumer. It's not sitting there saying, hey, like, you're not going to get any games on PlayStation if you want to play there. Actually, I'm still in the belief that they would put Game Pass on there if PlayStation allowed it for a second. They'd wait 1 second and be like, no, yes, please, let's do this. and if the Nintendo Switch 2 comes out and it maybe they're the ones. Maybe they announce Game Pass will launch on there. It's a software-based company. They are capable of doing it. And that's where I get mad. That's where I get mad. And it's going a little off topic, but the Black Myth Wukong thing, okay? It's built in the Unreal Engine. All right. You have games like Hellblade 2, which I've seen people have went to the highest settings and crippled their PC. Do you understand that?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You know, like Indiana Jones, different engine, but they haven't crippled, which I'm impressed with that. I haven't seen any PC guys be like, oh, I've crippled it. I've put it at all the highest settings and it runs great. You know what I mean? And that's where I say, like, okay, Indiana Jones is going to come to PlayStation. Look forward to that. But remember, we got games that are not coming to you that are going to be even better. And that's where I say, like, you know, that's where Doom the Dark Ages I look at and I say they're going to understand at some point, because clearly they still like id Tech. You know, we have many engines that have went through, you know, especially like Slipspace, stuff like that. Slipspace gone now. Okay. They spent how many millions of dollars on that? They're done with it. They're going to Unreal. So clearly Epic knows what they're doing when they build an engine. And that's where you're going to start seeing games go one way or the other. But you're also going to see games on Xbox that are like, okay, we're going to go to like 2D style, simplistic aspect, and you're going to enjoy it. You know what I mean? Like, and boom, I mean, you're one for that. So, yeah. You know,
well,
like,
no, again,
this
is exactly what we're talking about. Crispy, is the Game Pass allows you to do that. It allows you to put quality. As a matter of fact, OG Frost had just added a $5 super chat, and he said basically with Netflix, there's plenty of TV shows / movies. Not all of them are for everybody, but there's something for everyone. It's the same with Game Pass, and it's exactly like perfect timing for the super chat, along with your point.
Salute to that.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. Listen, again, it's you're onto something, and I do want to continue the PlayStation service scenario versus Xbox Game Pass conversation that you just led with to Fuzzy. Fuzzy, look, if we're comparing apples to oranges here, you look at what PlayStation has done with their service, and some games that they put in there, you know, a lot of the stuff is older stuff. Some of the stuff is really good. Some of the stuff, like what they put in, you know, more specifically for January, is not that good, to be honest with you. They almost seem like they didn't even bother trying. Like this is, it's just, sloppy seconds, go. And their service, yes, now it's a bit cheaper than Xbox, but when you look at value proposition, let's say, for instance, ladies and gentlemen, you don't go look for a deal. Like I just found a deal. I got 3 months of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate for $29.29 at CD Keys. So you say, what? Why? Well, because I'm about to, have that 3-month gap. So every time I got a 3-month gap, I drop a 3-month card, and I just keep extending the service, and I pay $29.29 for it at CD Keys. Now, if you're not a frugal person, you're like, I don't understand this CD Keys thing. Boom, I'm just going to pay my $20. You're not wrong. So you pay your $20 for the entire year of 2025, and you spend $240. The games that are coming out that from first party alone will double that if you spent the money. If you actually spent the $76.43 per game, you will have doubled, maybe even tripled that, right? That's not including all of the second party, third party, and indie partner deals. Plus, there could be some exclusive content in there from Xbox Game Studios that has not been discussed yet, right? We did hear that Matt Booty said we have a couple of things coming out in 2025 that we have not talked about yet. What are those? Is it Towerborn, right? They talked about that. Is it 33 Immortals? They talked about that. What else could it be? I don't know, but they could be something. And when you talk about value proposition, I really believe if you are a Sony guy or gal, yes, you enjoy your PlayStation, right? You're enjoying that Ghost of Yotai is going to be on your console. Awesome. You're getting first crack at Kojima's new game, Death Stranding: The Beach. Awesome, right? That's great. You're going to get a chance to play it first. But interestingly enough, and I think this is where you have to, and I'm using PlayStation against themselves, ladies and gentlemen. You're a PlayStation gamer. You're spending a significant amount of money. Let's say you got the biggest PlayStation Plus service that they have. Right, it's $160 a year. You're still not getting MLB The Show 25 in your service. But if you go to Game Pass, you get the best version of that in the service. Like, think about that for a second, folks. That's just another caveat that every year since they started, they were forced to put it on other platforms. Xbox Game Pass has had MLB The Show day and date. Sony players have to spend full freaking boat to play that game on a service that you were paying $160. So even at the best possible service scenario, they're still not giving you that game. That, to me, is one of the reasons why I would go over to Xbox Game Pass. But now, Fuzzy Belvedere, you include all of these games, this roadmap that has been painted for us, and there are a couple of variables in there, right? The Gears of War E-Day, it's unlikely, right? But it's rumored. Oblivion remake using Unreal Engine 5. Umbra, if you're here, I know he's getting excited. That's definitely a possibility. That is probably going to go to all platforms, and it makes sense. It was on all platforms. But if you want to play that, and I'm sure a lot of PlayStation players will, you'll have to spend the full boat to get that. This is where I go right back to Xbox Game Pass has now become an undeniable fiscal situation for a lot of people. If you are a diehard gamer, if you love gaming, how can you not have this service? I don't care where your allegiance lie. I don't care if I cut you on your wrist, you're bleeding blue, or if I cut you on your head, you're bleeding red, literally because it's blood, but you're a Nintendo person. How can you as a gamer not look over at Xbox Game Pass and be like, God damn, bro, That's something. It has become undeniable. And I think that there is no excuse, there is no scenario, there is no console war rhetoric that you could use that will deny Xbox being the place to game in 2025, especially if you are an Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscriber. Let's get your thoughts.
Well, I look at it as my overall budget used to be about $1,800 a year on gaming as a whole. And that's with having two kids, sometimes having to buy multiple copies only because, you can only game share across one. So when Game Pass became more of a go-to for me, especially once they started playing on PC as well, it just made sense to do that. Have it where they can still do the game share, but if they're playing more so on their PC, you have to jump through a lot of hoops to really do the game share beyond just one other PC, unless you're basically the admin on all PCs, and then you have to be logged in on all PCs, but some games make you log out, blah, blah, blah. It's a lot more work trying to save a buck in that regard. But overall, because of how Game Pass is structured, that affords me the opportunity to buy more games on my PC, more games that don't wind up in the service, or spend it elsewhere outside of gaming. More so, it's been hardware purchases than anything, whether it's controllers or Steam Deck or things along those lines. But in the grand scheme of things, because of Game Pass, it's allowed me to, get more for my dollar. And I'm one of those that, because I have a lot of free time, I wind up using a lot of Microsoft reward points. Like, to me, that's the biggest thing in comparison to like PlayStation. The thing I used to hate is, even when you have like the Sony credit card, it takes a lot more purchases to get enough points to get a free game. Like, basically, if you bought, I think it's like 6 or 7 games at one point, I think that's roughly what it was for Xbox. Once you buy that, like 6 games, it's like the 7th one is free or something to that effect. And it's still pretty close to that as far as points. And sometimes you get double rewards points on certain purchases or certain games. They don't do it as frequently as they used to, but that's the thing where it's like, all right, yeah, I know Google search is much better than Bing search, but guess what? I'm not having to rely on these searches as much to be, as in depth. Pretty much they point to a lot of the same websites when you use them. Playing games, like Microsoft actually rewards you for playing games more than what Sony does. Like, even with their stars program, you can get all the trophies you want. You're getting a trinket for a shelf kind of thing. Like, they have that game shelf thing. Yeah. You get rewards for your, I guess, wall that you can look at on your phone. That's not doing me any good. It's almost like you have to buy 15 games and beat all 15 to get like $5 back. I think that's roughly what it winds up being.
Which as opposed ridiculous, to dude. Ridiculous.
Yeah, you could play, like, if you have Game Pass, you could play, was it like something like 12 or 15 games, and you would get enough points that's worth like a $5 card at that point. I think the value in general is undeniable, but it's more so about the games. And yeah, I know in the early days of Game Pass, I think it was back in 2017 when we all probably signed up, it wasn't the greatest, but it was a lot of like first party, Xbox One and 360 games that were back and pat. And you had some of the launch lineup as far as Xbox first party studios and some of their partnered games that they did at launch. And then it grew. And then, the first breakout, I think, outside of their first party was really when Outriders came there. Now, yes, given that they had some buggy issues at points, it was still a great game to have day one in that service. And they've been doing that ever since. It may not be as grandiose as it appeared when Outriders appeared, but I think people have kind of come to expect at least 1 or 2 third party a year making a debut in the service. And Capcom has delivered a couple of times. Sure, they weren't their Resident Evil games, but they were games that, maybe people wouldn't have even bothered purchasing, like Path of the Goddess. I know a lot of people say it's a lovely playing game, looks great, but honestly, a lot of people are probably like, I'll wait for a sale, or I'll wait to do this, and then find out it's an awesome game and then wind up picking it up at a discount, which I hate the argument of, well, I like to own my games. And okay, great. You can still do that with the service. And the key thing behind it is you actually get a discount. Like within the first 30 days, I think it was a 15% discount. And after 30 days, it winds up being like a 25 or greater at the point. So I still own my games. Well, as much as you digitally own them, which I think us as gamers really need to push that issue to own our actual digital games so we can trade them or sell them or whatever. But that's a uphill battle that we can, choose to fight or not. But in the grand scheme of things, I think Game Pass gives you the options to try out a game day one, see if you like it. And if it's one of those games that's not first party and it's going to leave the service, that gives you a perfect opportunity to take the discount either then or wait until just before it leaves when it's even deeper discount. That's what I do a lot of times. And I think they've come to understand that. Like they'll let you know, hey, this game is leaving. Don't you want to buy it? Hey, we took an extra 15% off of it.
Yep.
Doesn't that tempt you? And it's like at that point, okay, it's $17 for a game that's been in the service for 6 months or so. Yeah, I'll do that. Or a game that was in the service for a year. Oh, it's $7 now. It's like you don't even have to think about it. It's like, yeah, I'll add that. Yeah, I'll add that because you don't know when it's coming back to the service, and you want to be able to say, you know what, I'm in the mood for playing Control. But if you didn't purchase it initially, now would be the time when it leaves the service, or when it's about to come back to the service. You get that discount after it's been out of the service for a bit of time. It's just, for me, it's like what we used to enjoy with Blockbuster with renting games. I wasn't as much of a GameFly fan because it was like, it felt like a couple of days because me being on the East Coast, I think at the time when they launched, they only had their West Coast shipping point. So it was like at least 2 days at the best. And then a lot of times by the time you would reserve it, it seemed like all the people on the West Coast reserved that game and they didn't have enough of that copy at launch kind of thing. But this is such a more easier service to get along with. And the fact that they're expanding your access to being able to play it on your phone or being able to play it on your tablet or a handheld device or your TV that has the app built in, I can't think of why you wouldn't want to at least give it a try. Like if you're really into gaming, I would say, yeah, keep your PlayStation. For me, my PlayStation is my first party go-to for their first party exclusives. But as far as the third party stuff, it's either purchase on Xbox or it's purchase in Steam if it's not available on console at this point. Or if it's not available on Xbox, it winds up being purchased on Steam. Like Black Myth will probably be purchased. I haven't purchased it yet because I'm waiting for it to drop in price, which I missed the time when it dropped below the $30 mark. But it's Game Pass is the go-to for me in the matter of saving money, having access to games day one, and I can't stress this enough. Like, you don't have to worry. Well, like we've all experienced FOMO where you see your friends list is all playing this game that you may have said you were going to wait on, or if you weren't sure on, you're going to wait to hear their feedback, and you hear, oh, it's amazing. Like, your Hogwarts Legacy. Now that's not in Game Pass or anything, but there are games that reach that same level. And it's like, you know what? I can try it the same day everybody else tries it, not have to pay for it that day. And then if it winds up not being a first party and it leaves the service, I can save money. And I've played the game and got the discount price that I could have waited like 6 months to a year to get, or for the holidays to get, but I'm playing it now. And I that's the thing that really strikes it home for me. Like I'm so glad that they've expanded this program or this service like they have, to the point where I can't imagine not having it. Like I really wish PlayStation would do something along these lines. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's not sustainable. But yeah, it's been around since 2017. And the same people say Xbox has been dead. So I guess Xbox and Game Pass is a zombie at this point, which I'm fine with zombies. Some zombie movies are some of my favorite. But it's just laughable to me at this point that people try to deny the value proposition or just the enjoyment that you can have for a little bit of money, or maybe some spare time taken up in searches or just playing games to get your rewards points to cash in for, a month of Game Pass or 3 months of Ultimate or much like I do the 3-month ultimate things where I'm good until 28 at this point. So I can't stress that enough. But yeah, I this year is going to be crazy from first party. So if you're just looking at first party, the 6 games that we know of, I would say it's well worth buying that subscription if you haven't already, bought the cards on discount from CD Keys, or what Target usually does at on occasions where it's like less than, I think, $8 or like $9 plus tax a month for like their cards for the 3-month card bundles and things like that. But yeah, it's an awesome service. Saved me a ton of money and allowed me to access more games, buy certain pieces of hardware that I would probably have to wait until a deep discount. And, it's just awesome to, enjoy.